Speaking of Young Thug, he recently went on Twitter, aka X, and tweeted from jail. And it caused a whole storm because I think if Young Thug was free, he would be the one that would be able to mitigate the situation, be the middleman of the situation. And it seems like from jail, he's looking to do that. He tweeted this: Drake, Future, Metro Boomin. We all brothers. Music ain't the same without us collabing. Right? Everybody's losing their mind after this tweet. Everybody's like, yeah, thank you, Thug, for saying what we all been thinking. But Drake, I think Drake, here's the thing, right? I think Future retweeted that, by the way. Let me see, just to make sure, because I could have swore I saw he retweeted that. Yeah, he retweeted it, so Future agrees with that. Drake, on the other hand, hasn't said anything. From what I've seen, Drake, Future, Young Thug, I don't think he said anything. Future retweeted it, but that's it. Yeah, Drake hasn't said a single word. If you remember on the, I think it was Family Matters, Lil Wayne, he a fucking lame, you know, I think it was, might have been Push. I don't know, man. Where he says Lil Wayne, he a fucking lame. He's talking about Metro Boomin. Put his pen to it. I forget what he said. Yeah, so it was on Family Matters. He said, let me see. Let me get this word for word. Pluto shit make me sick to my stomach. We ain't never really been through it. Lil Wayne, he a fucking lame, so I know he had an influence. So he's talking about Metro Boomin. This, to me, makes it very clear that, at least I think in Drake's eyes, he's like, hey, this can be potentially resolved, me and Future. Now, I don't know if him and Metro Boomin could be resolved, but him and Future can. And I don't know if Future's willing to accept just their relationship being resolved. I think Future's willing to accept if Metro Boomin and him are cool with Drake. But I think Drake has a sour taste in his mouth from helping a lot of these artists. And let's be honest, he's helped a lot of these artists. Some of these artists have never gotten 1 billion streams by themselves. Some of these artists have never gotten #1 hits without Drake. That's just the reality of the situation. I don't care which way you flip it. I know Future is his own artist. He's had his own impact and influence. But the #1s and the big hit records have mainly come from Drake. As far as Metro Boomin stood on his own 2 feet. He's had hit records with other people as well, but obviously with Drake, it's helped as well. But I do think, like I've said this from the day the beef started, I think the Drake and Future thing will eventually get resolved. I said that before, and I wholeheartedly think that's going to happen. This tweet sent shockwaves. You have Drake stands saying that why should Drake go back? He's not going to help these guys. They're going to come back crawling to him because they're not going to be able to make hits anymore. I can see that. Drake could be like, hey, I don't want to rock with you guys anymore, and it is what it is, right? You guys need to survive out here without me helping you guys. But to be quite honest, Drake hasn't really done much after this beef. The music hasn't hit like it was doing. And I like the record, some of the tracks he's dropped off those like free, whatever, those packages he was dropping. And then he dropped a new track with some Spanish artists. First off, the record sounds like ass cheeks. No disrespect to them, but the song is terrible. And the song didn't even get a million streams. Its release. It only got like 800,000, which is very low for anything Drake related, right? Drake can do 1 million streams in a day easy. But this track didn't do that. I think the Drake impact, the stimulus package, really ain't hit like that because most people would flock to that record. And I went to go look at the views. It reached 1 million views in 2 days. Now, granted, this is an artist these are artists because there's a few people on the track that aren't really known that like huge in terms of hip hop. But, you get the Drake feature. Most people would check it out, man. I remember Block Boy JB. Nobody really knew who he was. Drake did the feature, Look Alive. And all of a sudden the record is doing insane numbers. That's when Drake had that, that stimulus package where he could just do features and it would hit. So Drake hasn't really had that run like he, like he's normally used to. But I don't expect it from Drake anymore, really. I have no problem with him slowly falling off. The only problem is the timing of the fall off, right? After the whole Kendrick thing, to be falling off is probably one of the worst timings of fall off because eventually the fall off for Drake would happen. And what I mean, quote unquote, fall off, right? Drake has set this insane bar for himself and for most artists that his fall off would be doing 200,000 first week. When for a lot of artists, 95% of artists, that is doing really well. If you do 200,000 first week, you're doing amazing. But for certain artists, doing 200,000 first week isn't really that big of a deal, right? Because they just have this standard. And it kind of reminds me right now of just what happened. There was reports that Mr. Beast's video, his recent video, did 66 million views in a week. And they were like, that's a flop, quote unquote, because he usually does insane numbers, 100 million, 150, whatever numbers he does in a week, right? And I was like, damn, if I did 66 million views like in a week, I'd fucking lose my mind. But that's the standard that Mr. Beast has set, because he's gone to the next level of things. And usually people expect you with a certain standard, and that's what Drake would have a certain standard. But as time goes on, eventually everybody falls off as an artist. Some people drastically fall off where just everything flops the next album, and just like Roddy Ricch, sorry to disrespect him, but he has fallen off like musically. He had this insane first album, and then all of a sudden. And then there's artists that gradually, slowly start to wind down because they're just getting older. The music isn't hitting like it once did, or people are just getting tired of hearing the artist. And I've always said Drake should take a break from music. Definitely take a break. Let us miss you, because I know I would end up missing Drake after a couple of years. Right now, I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing him. I really don't care to check a lot of the new music. I do check it out when it drops, but I'm not like rushing to check it out because we're getting new Drake stuff like every fucking week, it feels like. So, we'll see what happens with this stuff, man. I think they both need each other regardless, Drake and Future. I think Metro Boomin's well off by himself because he is a producer, and I think he can maneuver really well. But, hey, if anybody's going to, get them back together, it's somebody like Young Thug. I think he can be the one that can do it. So, we'll keep our eyes posted. We'll see what Drake says. Future retweeted it, so I'm sure with that retweet, he's probably agreeing with it. Metro Boomin, I don't think he said anything either, so we'll see what happens moving forward. But I would like to see the reunion. I'm not against it at all. I think Drake and Future make amazing music. Drake and Metro Boomin as well, and stuff like that. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.